You are the master of your fate. Let's begin. Let me begin by saying something that might make some of you uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. You have been lied to about what success really looks like. For the last several decades, the world has fed you a carefully marketed illusion that success is sexy, that it's fast, that it happens in viral moments, lucky breaks, clever hacks, that if you just think positively enough or visualize hard enough, the universe will hand you a reward. But I spent over 25 years studying the minds of the most powerful men of the modern age. I spoke with Henry Ford, a man who transformed the world without ever asking it for permission. I interviewed Thomas Edison, whose patience outlasted 10,000 failures. I watched Andrew Carnegie quietly build empires from discipline and direction, not excitement. And do you want to know what they all had in common? They didn't chase glory. They didn't need applause. They didn't wait to feel ready. They did the work in silence until the results were undeniable. Success isn't a moment. It's a rhythm. It's not an explosion. It's erosion. The slow erosion of weakness through daily effort. I call this the great lie, this toxic fantasy that success comes fast and loud, that it'll feel good, that it'll come once you manifest it, or the world finally decides to notice you. The truth, success is invisible long before it becomes undeniable. Success shows up as routine long before it shows up as results. And if you're not willing to be ignored, you're not ready to win. Now I want you to hear this deep in your bones. You do not need to be brilliant to win. You need to be consistent. You do not need the perfect conditions. You need discipline that shows up anyway. You do not need a crowd. You need a compass. Because every single person I studied, every one of them had to learn this same lesson. The path to greatness is paved in quiet days, long hours, and very little applause. Let me ask you something plainly. Would you be willing to do 90 days of disciplined, thankless, invisible work with no guarantees if it meant your life could look completely different 12 months from now? If the answer is no, you're not serious about success. You're in love with the fantasy of it. But if the answer is yes, even with fear in your heart, then congratulations. You're already ahead of 90% of the world. The real work is boring. It's repetitive. It's hard, but it works. And if you can learn to embrace that boredom, to cherish it, even then, you'll find yourself building something the world can't take from you. Because no one can steal what's rooted in rhythm. No one can take away what you became when no one was watching. That's the foundation. And now that we've cleared away the fantasy, let's talk about why most people never make it past the first wall. Let me tell you something plainly. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they quit the moment things stop being easy. The masses collapse at the first sign of resistance, not because the work is too hard, but because their expectation was too soft. Somewhere along the way, they were taught that things should click, that if it's meant to be, it should feel effortless, that once you find the right path, the road should be smooth. But here's what I've learned from a lifetime studying greatness. Resistance isn't a sign to stop. It's the signal that you're finally heading in the right direction. You see, every worthwhile pursuit in life comes with friction. Discomfort isn't the enemy, it's the door. When resistance shows up, don't run from it. Respect it, lean into it, let it shape you. Now let me give you an example. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times in the pursuit of the electric light bulb. 10,000. That's not a metaphor. That's a man staring at resistance every day and refusing to be moved by it. He didn't say, maybe this isn't for me. He didn't say, maybe the universe is giving me a sign. He said, I've just discovered another way that doesn't work. That's what separates those who win from those who wish. Most people treat struggle like it's proof they're doing something wrong. But every champion I ever met treated struggle like it was the tuition they had to pay for a better future. Let me ask you something personal. When things get hard, when results don't show up, do you pull back? Do you tell yourself, maybe this isn't the right time? Or maybe I'm not cut out for this? Or do you double down? Do you stare the resistance in the face and say, I was made for this? Because I'll tell you right now, the resistance you feel is not random. It's custom made, designed to measure your commitment, to test whether you're serious or just interested. Here's the key. If you run when it's hard, you'll keep running your whole life. But if you stay, if you endure, the resistance will shape you into something the world can't ignore. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The greatest victories come right after the greatest pressure. Don't quit when it's heavy. That weight is making you stronger. If you can learn to see struggle not as punishment, but as preparation, you'll already be ahead of the pack. Because while others are retreating, you'll still be building. And in a few months, a year, that gap will become a canyon. You'll have what they gave up on. Now, in the next section, I'm going to show you how to build a system that removes the need for motivation, so you never have to rely on willpower again. Let me tell you something most people never learn. Willpower is a terrible strategy. It's like trying to bail water out of a sinking ship with a paper cup. You say you'll try harder. You say you'll get serious this time. But without a system, you're just gambling with your energy. Let me ask you plainly, do you really think the most successful men I interviewed got where they are because they felt like it every day? Carnegie didn't build a steel empire because he woke up in a good mood. Ford didn't reinvent industry because he had boundless enthusiasm. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he had more motivation than you. They built systems. Systems are what carry you when your mood can't. Systems are what keep you moving long after willpower gives out. You think you're lazy? You're not lazy. You're unstructured. The man who wakes up and waits for motivation will lose to the man who built a system every single time. So what is a system? A system is a repeatable process that removes the need for decision. Let me break it down. You don't ask yourself, should I work on my dream today? Because it's already blocked in your calendar. You don't wait until you feel like it to go to the gym because your bag is already packed and your alarm is set. You don't hope to be productive. You build an environment that supports it. No distractions, no nonsense. The fewer decisions you leave to chance, the fewer chances you give the devil to derail your day. Let me give you a real-world example. A young man I once mentored wanted to write a book. He said, I'll write when I'm inspired. A year later, still no book. I told him, forget inspiration. Write 1 page a day. Doesn't matter if it's good. He built a habit, a system. 6 months later, first draft done. It wasn't magic. It wasn't motivation. It was momentum. Here's what I want you to understand. Systems create identity. When you show up for yourself every day, even in small ways, you begin to believe, I'm the kind of person who follows through. That belief will take you further than any burst of hype ever could. So let me give you a challenge. Pick one area of your life where you keep starting and stopping. Now ask yourself, what's the system that would make this automatic? How can I remove friction, remove decisions, remove excuses? If you're serious about this, build it today, not next week, not when it's perfect. Today. Start small, start messy, but start. Because once your system is stronger than your excuses, you become unstoppable, no matter how you feel. Now in the next section, we're going to tackle a mindset trap that holds most people back, the fear of judgment, and why you must break it if you ever want to win. Let me speak plainly. You're not just afraid of failure, you're afraid of being seen failing. You say you want success, but you tiptoe around your dreams like you're afraid someone might notice. You hesitate to share your work. You downplay your ambition. You pretend you're just figuring things out, when deep down you've known what you want for years. Let me tell you why. You fear judgment. You fear the glance of someone who hasn't done a tenth of what you've tried, but whose opinion somehow has the power to paralyze you. Why? Because at some point in your life, you started equating visibility with vulnerability. Being noticed meant being exposed. And so you learned to play small because small feels safe. But let me remind you of something. You can't be invisible and valuable at the same time. The same light that makes you shine will cast a shadow. But that shadow is not your enemy. It's your proof that you stood in the sun. If you want to rise, if you want your work to matter, you have to accept one thing. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. You will be talked about. And that's fine. The goal was never to please everyone. The goal was to live your calling, not their expectations. Let me give you a real example. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times while inventing the light bulb. People mocked him, called him foolish. But every failure was just another step toward the right filament. He didn't fear being seen wrong. He feared not finishing. And that's what separates the great from the average. The greats are willing to look foolish on their way to brilliance. Now, let me give you something practical. If you want to break the fear of being seen, 1. Publish something small today. A post, a voice memo, a sketch, a paragraph from your journal. Don't wait for perfect. Post your truth. 2. Say your dream out loud to someone who believes in you. Until your vision has a voice, it's just a wish. 3. Practice rejection. Apply to 5 things this week where you expect a no. The more you normalize hearing no, the less it stings. 4. Remember this. Most people are too busy judging themselves to care about judging you. Their opinions don't pay your bills. feed your soul, or build your dream. You will never meet a hater doing more than you. You only get criticized from the cheap seats. And finally, remind yourself of this truth. You were not given your gift to hide it. You were not born with fire in your belly to bury it under fear. If you're afraid of being seen, you're standing in the wrong room. Stand up, speak up, show up. Because the world doesn't need more polished performances. It needs people who are real, people who are raw, people who are willing to be seen before they're fully ready. In the next section, I'll show you what happens when you do this right, how people start noticing, remembering, and finally, depending on your value. Let me tell you something most people never realize until it's too late. Success doesn't just go to the most talented person. It doesn't even go to the hardest worker. Success goes to the one who becomes impossible to replace. So if you feel like you're overlooked, like no one's noticing your effort, your ideas, your ambition, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because you haven't yet made yourself indispensable. Let's break that word down. To be indispensable doesn't mean being perfect. It means being the one who solves the problem others avoid, the one who sees the gap and steps into it, the one who shows up when it matters, over and over again, with consistency, courage, and clarity. Don't wait to be called upon. Call yourself forward. Most people wait. They wait to be picked. They wait for a sign. They wait for permission. But I'm telling you, stop waiting. Winners don't wait. They decide. They decide who they're going to be. And then they become it through deliberate action. Now here's how you start becoming the person they can't ignore. 1. Find a pain point, fix it. At work, in your circle, in your business. Look for something broken that nobody wants to touch. Learn it, solve it, own it. You do this once and you're a helper. You do it consistently and you're essential. 2. Speak up, not just to talk, but to offer solutions. Most people complain. Few people contribute. Be the one who thinks ahead. Be the one who brings not just problems, but proposals. People remember thinkers. They remember doers. 3. Stay ready. Opportunity never knocks politely. It bursts in. And the question is, will you be caught scrolling? Or will you be ready? Upgrade your skills. Learn your industry. Make yourself the first person people think of when something big comes up. 4. Build your character in silence. I'm not talking about flashy posts or chasing clout. I'm talking about your name being mentioned in rooms you've never stepped into, because you've built a reputation that travels without you. Let me be clear, you don't need to be loud to be powerful, but you do need to be consistent. Consistency is the proof of belief. You might be thinking, but I've been trying and no one seems to notice. Let me tell you what I told myself once. If the world doesn't notice your value, it's not time to shrink, it's time to sharpen. Sharpen your clarity, sharpen your message, sharpen the edge you bring to every room you enter. You don't need 1 million followers to be valuable. You don't need a title to lead. You need one thing, a decision to stop fading into the background of your own life, a decision to take yourself seriously before anyone else does, a decision to be the person you once hoped would save you. And let me say this clearly, they will start noticing, they will start depending on you. And when they do, don't be surprised. You were never invisible. You were just hidden until now. In the next section, I'll show you how to own your visibility, how to carry yourself like someone who's already valuable, already chosen, already essential, long before the recognition comes. Now that you've stepped out of the background, here's what matters most, how you carry yourself, even when no one's watching. You see, most people wait for recognition to act confident, but true leaders, true forces, carry themselves with quiet confidence before the applause ever starts. And this right here, it's what separates the people who hope to be seen from the people who can't be ignored. Let me break it down. 1. Stop apologizing for existing. You walk into a room and immediately look for where you don't belong. You shrink your voice. You soften your opinions. You make yourself small so others don't feel uncomfortable. But here's the truth. You are not an accident. Your voice, your ideas, your presence, they're not interruptions. They're assignments. Walk in like you have something to offer, because you do. Not with arrogance, but with ownership. 2. Develop a calm inner authority. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't argue for its worth. It just is. It's the tone in your voice that says, I've done the work. It's the way you make eye contact without flinching. It's the way you listen before you speak, because you're not performing, you're present. Let people feel your presence without you having to prove it. 3. Speak like it's already done. When you talk about your goals, your vision, your path, do you speak with hesitation, with maybes and I'll tries, and we'll see how it goes? Or do you speak like someone who's already seen it, already walked it in the spirit, and now you're just catching up in reality. What you speak consistently becomes what you live eventually. So speak with conviction. No need for hype, just truth. No need for noise, just certainty. 4. Protect your energy like a pro. If you're serious about becoming someone worth noticing, worth following, worth investing in, then you better get serious about what you allow into your life. Negative people, energy draining habits, content that numbs instead of feeds. Cut it, or it will cut your future short. You don't build presence by blending into noise. You build it by creating space. Space for clarity, for insight, for your voice to become sharp. 5. Act like the spotlight is already on you. Here's the mindset. I don't become excellent when they start watching. I'm excellent so that when they watch, I'm ready. This means you prepare like the opportunity is already scheduled. You write, speak, serve, show up, even if nobody's clapping yet. Because you're not working for applause. You're working for alignment between who you are and what you do. And this is the moment when everything starts to shift. Because you stop needing validation. You stop chasing recognition. You stop waiting for permission. And instead, you show up like someone who knows they have something to give. Not someday, today. Because the truth is, you don't get noticed when you try to be seen. You get noticed when you show up with presence, consistency, and quiet excellence over and over again. Before the stage, before the title, before the followers, before the spotlight. Now let's wrap this up in the final section, because there's still one more piece that most people miss. They might see you now, but how do you make sure they never forget you? That's what I'll show you next. Now they've noticed you. You're not invisible anymore. You've spoken up, you've stepped out. But here's the real test. Can you leave something behind when you walk away? See, being seen is the start, but being remembered is where your power multiplies. And that doesn't come from being loud or flashy. It comes from impact. Let me show you how. 1. Don't just show up, bring value. This is the rule. Whenever you enter a room, a conversation, a meeting, or even a comment thread, leave it better than you found it. Bring insight, bring clarity, bring calm, bring a solution, a question, an idea, something that shifts the energy, that makes people think differently. The goal is not to be impressive. It's to be useful. 2. Be the one who follows through. You want to shock people. Do what you said you'd do. On time, without chasing, without excuses. In today's world, reliability is a superpower. People remember those they can count on. Because most people, they overpromise and disappear. Be the person who makes trustworthy your brand. 3. Listen deeper than they expect. People don't remember the one who talks the most. They remember the one who heard them the most. Be that person. Repeat back what they said. Ask better questions. Make them really feel that their words landed somewhere sacred. Because when someone feels seen by you, they'll never forget you. 4. Let your energy speak first. Before you say a word, you've already said 1,000 things. How you carry yourself, how present you are. What you radiate, that's what people remember most. So here's a question to ask every morning. What do people feel when I walk into the room? Not what they think, what they feel. Do they feel calm, inspired, empowered? Or do they feel tension, insecurity, competition? Your energy is your signature. And if it's aligned with your purpose, it will do the work long after you've left the room. 5. Let excellence be the echo. Forget perfection. That's not what people remember. But they do remember the person who gave everything they had to their craft. The one who stayed late, thought deeper, cared more, and delivered better. Excellence is rare, and what's rare gets remembered. So leave a mark, not just with your words or appearance, but with your work. Let people feel the standard you set and challenge themselves to rise to it. And now, finally, this. If you want to be unforgettable, stop trying to be everything. Just be you, fully, consistently, boldly. Because the people who leave the deepest marks are never the ones who tried to copy the crowd. They're the ones who carved a path. They're the ones who stood in rooms and said, I may not be the loudest, but I will be the clearest. I may not be the flashiest, but I will be the realest. And I may not be remembered by everyone, but I will matter to the ones I'm here to serve. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what earns trust, loyalty, impact, and legacy. And now it's time to tie it all together, because there's one final mindset shift that turns all this into momentum. Let's finish strong. Now listen closely. You've come this far. You've learned how to be seen, how to be heard, how to leave your mark. But here's the truth that most never realize. It's not just about doing more. It's about becoming someone they can't do without. You don't want to be noticed once. You want to become necessary. the kind of presence that makes the whole team, the whole room, operate at a higher level. Let me tell you how that transformation happens. 1. Start thinking like a linchpin. You know what a linchpin is? It's the tiny piece in a machine that holds the entire wheel in place. Remove it, and the whole thing falls apart. That's the person you need to become, someone who brings stability, clarity, and momentum wherever they go. How? Become the connector between people and ideas. Be the one who always knows what's next. Offer solutions before the problem explodes. When others bring problems, you bring a path. That's rare, that's respected, that's remembered. 2. Your presence must multiply others. If people only feel your brilliance, you've missed the point. True power, it's when others feel their brilliance in your presence. Lift others in meetings. Mention names in rooms when they're not present. Be generous with praise, strategic with silence, and intentional with encouragement. You become indispensable when others grow just by being around you. 3. Own your identity, even when no one claps. At some point, you'll do everything right and still go unseen. And that's the final test. Will you keep showing up with power even when the room is quiet? Because here's what most don't understand. Your value isn't confirmed by applause. It's confirmed by your consistency. People are watching when they don't say anything. Your boss, your audience, your friends, even your critics. They're watching to see if you are real. And when they realize we're not just performing, you're becoming, they'll have no choice but to take notice. 4. You don't need to chase recognition. You need to command it. Let's make one thing clear. You are not here to beg for respect. You are not here to shrink so others feel safe. You are not here to blend in and be liked by everyone. You are here to become undeniable. How? Do excellent work even when no one's watching. Speak truth, not trend. Show up every day like it matters, because it does. And eventually, the world will stop and ask, who is that? Not because you screamed, but because your presence, your impact spoke louder. Let's wrap this up. You don't get stuck because no one sees you. You get stuck when you stop believing your presence matters. But now you know better. You don't need to be the loudest. You just need to be clear. You don't need to have a title. You just need to be trusted. You don't need everyone's attention. You just need the right people to feel your impact. From this day forward, carry yourself like someone who belongs. Not because the world gave you permission, but because your work, your energy, and your mindset demand it. The invisible you is gone. The underestimated you is finished. The new you seen, steady and unstoppable, just walked into the room. Let's go make sure they remember your name. Remember, your success begins the moment you decide to act.